Buried beneath one of the oldest and largest craters in the entire solar system, on the side of the moon that never once faces Earth, NASA scientists found something that shouldn't be there at all. A massive hidden object, roughly the mass of 5 big islands of Hawaii combined, sitting silently under the lunar surface. Nobody expected to find it. Nobody has fully explained what it actually is. And it's just one of several genuinely strange discoveries hiding on the far side of the moon that most people have never heard about. Stick around, because everything in this video comes from real, published research, not speculation. And by the end, you'll understand exactly why scientists keep saying the far side of the moon holds secrets. The near side simply doesn't. Let's start with why the far side of the moon is so different in the first place, because most people don't realize just how strange this basic fact actually is. The moon is tidally locked with Earth, meaning it rotates at exactly the same rate it orbits our planet. As a result, we've only ever seen one side of the moon from Earth throughout the entire history of human civilization. The far side remained completely unseen by human eyes until 1959, when a Soviet spacecraft finally captured the first photographs of it. And even now, more than 6 decades later, that hidden hemisphere continues, surprising the scientists studying it in extraordinary detail. If you're new to this channel, we cover discoveries exactly like this one every single week, so make sure you're subscribed before we continue, because what's buried under the moon's far side genuinely puzzled the researchers who found it. The first major mystery centers on something called the South Pole Aitken Basin, an enormous impact crater stretching roughly 1,550 miles across, making it the largest confirmed impact crater anywhere in our entire solar system. It formed billions of years ago when an object slammed into the moon with enough force to gouge out a scar visible from space, back when the lunar surface had only just barely cooled enough for impacts to leave a lasting mark. In 2019, using data from NASA's Gravity Recovery and Interior Laboratory mission, known as GRAIL, combined with detailed topography captured by the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, a team of researchers led by Peter James at Baylor University discovered something genuinely unexpected buried deep beneath that ancient crater. An enormous excess of mass, sitting at least 180 miles below the surface, dense enough to noticeably warp the moon's own gravitational field in that specific region. James himself described the discovery in strikingly vivid terms, comparing the excess mass to taking a pile of metal 5 times larger than Hawaii's Big Island and burying it underground. If a genuine mystery hiding beneath the largest crater in the entire solar system is the kind of thing that fascinates you as much as it fascinates me, do me a quick favor and hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel keep making videos exactly like this one. So, what actually is this massive hidden object? Researchers currently believe the most likely explanation connects directly back to whatever originally created the South Pole Aitken Basin in the first place. When a large asteroid or similar object slams into a planetary surface with enough force to create a crater. This massive, it's entirely possible for dense fragments of that impacting object, potentially including chunks of its metallic core, to become embedded deep within the resulting crater, rather than being completely vaporized or ejected back into space. If that's what happened here, this buried mass could be a genuine multi-billion-year-old remnant of the very object that once collided with the moon and left behind the largest scar in our solar system. Researchers have also proposed an alternative explanation, one connected to the moon's own violent early history. In the aftermath of a massive impact like this, an ocean of molten material called magma would have formed beneath the crater. And as that magma slowly cooled and solidified over enormous stretches of time, especially dense minerals could have settled downward and accumulated in a concentrated layer, similar in some ways to how sediment settles at the bottom of a lake here on Earth. Either explanation would help account for the observed excess mass, though researchers have been candid that they can't yet say with total certainty which scenario, or possibly some combination of both, actually explains what's really down there. What makes this discovery scientifically significant goes well beyond simple curiosity. Daniel Moriarty, a lunar geologist who reviewed the findings, described it as a genuinely huge result, precisely because understanding what's hidden beneath this ancient basin could help scientists better understand not just the moon's own violent early history, but the broader process by which rocky worlds throughout the solar system, including Earth itself, originally formed and evolved during that same chaotic early period of cosmic history. That's not the only strange thing hiding on the moon's far side, though. In a separate and equally puzzling discovery, an international research team led by Matthew Siegler combined data from NASA's Lunar Prospector and Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter missions with observations from China's Chang'e-1 and Chang'e-2 lunar orbiters, using an innovative microwave detection technique specifically designed to measure subtle heat signatures emanating from beneath the lunar surface. What they found was a distinct region, roughly 30 miles across, radiating noticeably more heat than the surrounding terrain, warm enough to genuinely puzzle the entire research team when they first spotted it in the data. Siegler was refreshingly candid about the team's initial reaction, admitting they were genuinely puzzled when they first identified the anomaly. After careful analysis, researchers concluded the most likely explanation was the presence of a massive buried formation of granite, a type of rock that, on Earth, typically requires very specific geological conditions to form, including the presence of water and active plate tectonics processes that continuously reshape our planet's crust over millions of years. Finding: evidence of a large granite formation on the Moon is genuinely surprising, precisely because the Moon lacks the plate tectonics and liquid water that normally drive granite formation here on Earth, raising fascinating new questions about whether the Moon's early geological history might share more similarities with our own planet's formation than scientists had previously assumed. The suspected granite formation sits between two named lunar craters, Compton and Belkovich, in a location that already showed surface evidence of an extinct volcanic caldera, a telltale sign of ancient volcanic activity from billions of years ago. Researchers believe this buried granite mass likely formed from a slowly cooling body of magma deep underground, associated with that same ancient volcanic system, gradually solidifying into the dense heat-retaining rock formation detectable in today's thermal imaging data. Beyond these two genuinely mysterious buried formations, NASA's ongoing lunar research has also confirmed other significant, though somewhat less mysterious, findings on and around the Moon's far side and polar regions. Scientists have identified water ice, deposits hidden inside permanently shadowed craters near the lunar poles, regions so deeply shadowed that sunlight never directly reaches their floors, allowing ice to remain frozen and stable for potentially billions of years. Researchers have also discovered evidence of massive underground lava tubes, ancient tunnels once carved out by flowing volcanic material, now potentially large enough to shelter future human explorers from the Moon's extreme temperature swings and dangerous surface. Radiation, protection that could prove genuinely valuable for any future long-term lunar missions. Taken together, these discoveries paint a picture of a far side that remains, even after decades of dedicated study, genuinely full of unresolved mysteries. A colossal hidden mass buried beneath the largest crater in the solar system, an unexplained pocket of granite, radiating heat in a region where it arguably shouldn't exist at all, and an entire hemisphere that human eyes never saw, directly until less than 70 years ago. Every new mission, every improved instrument, and every fresh analysis of existing data continues turning up details nobody fully anticipated finding. It's worth taking a moment to understand exactly how scientists managed to detect something buried this deep beneath the lunar surface, given that nobody can simply dig 180 miles into the Moon to look directly. The Grail mission, launched by NASA in 2011, actually consisted of twin spacecraft flying in tandem orbits around the Moon, precisely measuring tiny variations in the distance between the two probes as they passed over different regions of the lunar surface. Those subtle distance changes reveal variations in gravitational pull, which in turn reveal differences in the density and mass of material hidden beneath the surface below. Denser material pulls slightly harder on a passing spacecraft, creating a measurable, if extremely subtle, signal. It's an elegant technique effectively allowing scientists to map what's hidden underground without ever needing to physically drill or dig, simply by tracking how gravity itself behaves differently across different regions of the Moon. The heat detection technique used to find the suspected granite formation relies on an entirely different but equally clever approach, measuring microwave radiation naturally emitted by the lunar surface and subsurface material. Different types of rock and different underground structures retain and emit heat in subtly different ways. And by carefully analyzing those microwave emissions across multiple wavelengths, researchers can effectively build a thermal map of what's happening beneath the visible lunar surface, without ever needing a lander or rover physically present at the specific location being studied. Both of these techniques represent genuinely impressive examples of remote sensing, extracting meaningful information about deeply buried lunar structures using nothing more than data collected from spacecraft orbiting hundreds of miles overhead. These discoveries also highlight something increasingly common in modern planetary science: the value of combining data from multiple different space agencies and missions, rather than relying on a single data set alone. The granite anomaly discovery specifically depended on merging observations from NASA's own missions with data collected independently by China's Chang'e lunar orbiters, each contributing pieces of information that, combined together, painted a far more complete picture than either dataset could have provided entirely on its own. As more countries and space agencies continue sending their own missions to explore the Moon in the coming years, This kind of international data sharing and collaborative analysis seems likely to keep uncovering additional lunar mysteries that no single mission, working in isolation, would have been capable of fully revealing on its own. There's also a broader reason NASA and other space agencies have prioritized far-side exploration so heavily in recent years. One, that extends well beyond simply satisfying scientific curiosity about buried anomalies. The far side of the moon offers a genuinely unique environment for certain types of scientific instruments, particularly radio telescopes, precisely because it remains permanently shielded from the constant stream of radio interference generated by human activity here on Earth. That natural shielding makes the far side an extraordinarily attractive location for future astronomical observatories designed to study the faint, ancient radio signals dating back to the earliest periods of the universe, signals that are effectively impossible to detect clearly anywhere on Earth's own radio-noisy surface. Several proposed missions have already explored the concept of eventually placing dedicated radio telescopes directly on the lunar far side, taking advantage of that natural isolation to peer deeper into cosmic history than any Earth-based instrument could ever hope to achieve. That scientific value adds another layer of urgency to fully understanding exactly what's buried beneath the far side surface, since any future infrastructure placed there, whether telescopes, habitats, or other scientific equipment, would need to account for the specific geological conditions of wherever it ends up being built. A hidden mass anomaly or an unusual heat source buried beneath a proposed construction site could meaningfully affect engineering decisions, making these seemingly abstract scientific discoveries directly relevant to very practical questions about how humanity might eventually build lasting infrastructure on the lunar far side. China's Chang'e 6 mission, which successfully returned the first ever samples collected directly from the lunar far side back to Earth in 2024, has already begun providing scientists with actual physical material to study directly, rather than relying purely on remote sensing data collected from orbit. Early analysis of those returned samples has already offered fascinating new insights into the geological history of the South Pole Aitken Basin specifically, the same enormous crater beneath which that mysterious excess mass was originally detected. As more physical samples from the far side eventually make their way into laboratories here on Earth, scientists expect to gain an increasingly detailed ground truth understanding of exactly what's really happening beneath that hidden hemisphere, potentially confirming or challenging the theories currently used to explain both of the mysterious buried formations covered in this video. If the side of the moon we can actually see from Earth still holds unresolved scientific questions after decades of close study, what does that tell you about how much more remains hidden? Quite literally. On the side we've spent our entire history never getting to look at directly. Drop your thoughts in the comments and let me know which of these lunar mysteries you find the most fascinating. If this deep dive into the moon's hidden secrets is the kind of content you want more of, hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel keep making videos exactly like this one. And subscribe if you haven't already, because we dig into stories exactly like this one, backed by real published research every single week, sitting quietly beneath the far side of the moon, hidden from every human eye that has ever looked up at the night sky. An ancient, mass larger than 5 Hawaiian islands and a buried patch of impossible granite, continue waiting for scientists to finally explain exactly how they got there. Mysteries that returned lunar samples and future missions may finally help solve for good.